What's up, investors? Chase here from the Note MBA podcast. On this week's episode, we talk a little bit about Due Diligence Pro. We talk about some new additions that are coming thanks to the users and the reason why it's so important and how in the world could we possibly have not thought about including these things when we built it? I don't even know, man. It's crazy. We also talk a little bit about, and we've gotten a ton of emails since like day one, potentially having a quick start guide or a class or something like that. We give a little bit on that. We talk a little bit about a deal that we're going to be offering up for the audience. It's a good show. It's action packed. We talk a lot about my shitty week. Check out this week's episode right now.
Doing, you know what I'm saying, all of this stuff and doing it at a high level.
This is the wax on, wax off that I have to do in order to become a master, right?
Okay. So you get some references. That's good. I'm glad that you get some.
Even myself.
Okay, Grasshopper.
First, seconds, performing, non-performing? What the f***? Note buyers, when it seems like you're in this business alone, know Chase, Robert, and the rest of their tribe are at it every week. They're bringing updates from their own note businesses as they work to find, fund, and finish deals. Follow along as they share their grassroots education with you, tuition free. If you'd like to know more about what they do and to download the entire back catalog, check out notemba.com. Now, here are your hosts, Chase Thompson and Robert Woods.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Note MBA podcast, your home for note investing on iTunes. I'm Chase Thompson, joined this week by Mr. David Glinsky. David, what's up, brother?
Hello, everyone. How's it going?
Is it a beautiful day in the neighborhood out in Florida?
It's a cloudy day, but it is a beautiful day indeed. Another day in paradise.
Awesome. I'm having a shitty day and an even shittier week. And to me, it is absolutely okay, right? To admit that from time to time, it just... it could have something to do with just the jackhammers that were absolutely running and wreaking havoc at my house this past week, getting the foundation fixed. It could be that one of the contractors that was doing the jackhammering jacked a GoPro and an iPad and a Bluetooth speaker from my house.
That's just insane.
It could be a deal that just went. It could any number of things right now, but. Breathing, family has her health. I'm trying to keep the chin. Up, which is
absolutely, man. You can't appreciate the good things without the bad things every once in a while. So it's just one of those down weeks. And you know what? Next week is going to be one of those up weeks. That's just the way you got it.
Listen, I like your optimism, but I'm also going to say. The prospect that the down week is the week before moving a family of 5, 900 miles north. It just, it doesn't ring true to me, but I appreciate your optimism, David Glinsky. I appreciate
I am here for you and our note community whenever they need a little bit of lifting up.
So we're going to talk a little bit about shitty weeks here in just a minute, but one of the things that we teased, either it was last week or the week before, anyway, was some Due Diligence Pro updates. Somebody had sent an email regarding it. If any of the great listeners of the Note MBA podcast are users of the Due Diligence Pro software, if you use it on Chrome, you actually automatically get the updates. If you use it on Safari, you got to go back and log in and download the app again because that's how Safari handles extensions. So, really quickly, we've had some updates. If you're using Chrome, it's automatic. If you're using Safari, go download. It's all good. Also, any potential updates, be sure to send us an email, ask@notemba.com. If you have suggestions on URLs or other websites to use and stuff like that, hit us up. Let us know. We love to get that feedback, and we're already implementing some of those sites. And the reason why I wanted to talk, though I always love plugging in Diligence Pro, I love using it, but the reason why I wanted to talk about it was somebody had mentioned adding Wikipedia to the list, right, of sites. Oh, by the way, if you hear banging, there's also construction at my office right now, as there was construction at my house. So I'm also in an active construction zone, which makes for terrible audio. I know. Listen. I know.
It's all right, buddy. It's all right. It's one of those weeks, like you said.
So anyway, they had mentioned Wikipedia as an option for adding to the list of apps, which I thought was really interesting. And in the email, he had mentioned that he likes to go there to get data either on the city or the counties or different things like that regarding where he's doing some of his investing, which I thought was pretty interesting. I think you could obviously get a lot of city data, right, from that. So in the spirit of things, because I personally had never even thought, right? Have you ever gone to Wikipedia to do research for a deal, let alone a note deal?
Definitely not a deal. I can remember going, back to research papers and doing that. But I mean, I see where the guy's coming from, finding out maybe population size of the county or of the city. I'm not sure what things you can really find out, but
I like where your head's
historical
at.
Things.
Yeah. I like where your head's at. So my thought process was, okay, well, what exactly can you glean, right? So I actually went to obviously a couple of cities that we invest in. I went to my own city, San Antonio, pulled it up on Wikipedia. We've got all kinds of stuff, right? They've got geography on neighborhoods, climate, vegetation, demographics, military installations, if those are there, attractions, obviously population growth, policies, how the government in that local area can handle some of those things. It depends on the size of the city and the scope of, kind of what's happening in and around that area on kind of how much information is going to be there, right? I happen to live in San Antonio. It's the whatever 6th or 24th or whatever. Okay, so here, Wikipedia, I did remember it. It is the 24th largest metropolitan area in the United States and the 3rd largest in the state of Texas. So we are the 3rd largest metropolitan in said, 2nd largest state in the country, right? So clearly our Wikipedia page, I would anticipate, is going to be, a little bit more robust maybe than some others, right? Okay, so we're on page with that. So it got me thinking, why would he want to know this? And wait, hold on. 24th largest metropolitan area, but technically San Antonio proper is the 7th most populated city in the United States. There you go. So we're huge, we're big, right? And that got me thinking about this process. And so this idea of due diligence, this idea of different places and different tools and different ways people do stuff. Now, I get that data. I just don't get it from Wikipedia. I don't know where you go, Mr. Glinsky, which is where we're kind of going to go with some of today's topics. I personally like to go to USA.com. USA.com is where I go to get that same kind of demographic data that you would be able to get at a place like Wikipedia. However, I get it there, right? And it's, in my opinion, a little bit more precise. Not precise in so much as it's better, but that you don't end up getting all the stuff like, obviously, this page for San Antonio talks about the Spurs and Morgan's Wonderland and Fiesta Tech.
You trim the fat, is what you're saying.
And all I'm looking at is, say, population data. And this was such a great idea for something to add to the tool like Due Diligence Pro, but to also talk about regarding your due diligence process. We've talked about on the show before, it's not so bad to invest in rural areas, though it's, if you know what you're doing, right? 1, and 2, if you're ready to hold, right? For extended period of time, if growth isn't coming in. But more specifically, just in knowing where you're investing, that will lead itself to either exit strategy ideas or notions or whether or not to pull the trigger or not or what have you. So we're going to be adding something like a USA.com, perhaps a Wikipedia, City Search, something like that to the Due Diligence Pro process, and pretty high up in the totem pole. Because to me, that's almost one of the first knockers, right? Like of when a deal is going to be falling off. If I look up the deal and the population of the city is 4,000, I'm out. Like, that's not within my range of comfortability for pulling the trigger and doing the deal, right? So if I'm going through this whole process and I'm pulling numbers and I'm looking at this and I'm looking at that and I'm really in the thick of it. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh yeah, what's the population? It's 1,400 people.
Yeah.
Oh crap!
I
right?
I really love the idea of using Wikipedia for maybe a newer investor that's trying to research their markets.
Absolutely.
Like everybody's going to do something different to pick their markets, whether it's somewhere they want to go or somewhere they haven't been or somewhere they have family. But for someone that's just starting out that doesn't know too much about Ohio or Maryland or Georgia, maybe this would be like a really good starting point to branch out to like other topics. Because like what you said, this has a little bit more fat than the USA. .com, where you've got culture, you've got transportation, you've got history, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, a really good starting point for newer investors.
Absolutely. And just out of curiosity, can you hear that air compressor like recompressing?
Not at all, honestly.
Okay, maybe it's absolutely going to come through the listener. It's going to have to, because it is so loud and prominent in my ear. Again, active war zone here, so I apologize. But
you should have just told everybody you're working while you're recording the podcast and just look.
Yeah, man, I'm hammering, man. I'm going
multitasking.
Multitasking my face off. So to me, I agree with you, right? Like if you're looking for up and coming markets, if you're looking for where you're going to be maybe expanding in markets, I totally agree with you. And I think it's one of the things, right? Because we love to talk about transparency. We love to talk about where we, didn't necessarily fail in a deal, but definitely where we might have had a misstep or a learned opportunity. And for me, in the Due Diligence Pro product, this is absolutely a learned opportunity of something that we can and should and will be putting into the product. This pulling of demographic data into the system, right? Like it's a no-brainer, and it's a brilliant addition. And this is why I love users. This is one of those things where when people talk about, did you develop this app for, to be this like crazy moneymaker, and we say no, obviously, right? But like there's still leeriness to it, and the answer is obviously no, because
for sure,
like this is one of those oversights. It's like only possible when you're like you have your own flow, and you're like, these are the places I go check, and then I pull up USA.com, and why in the world would I not throw it into the app? Because I'm, it's clearly one of those things that you're like, oh crap, I should have been better documenting my stuff, or else I would have known, so. I loved it. It's a phenomenal suggestion. It was a great idea to throw in there, and it'll probably be among many of new additions that will come to the app to be able to obviously make that initial due diligence process even faster. It's a great addition. I loved it.
Yeah, no, I'm excited for it. I mean, this is the first I'm hearing of it, but I can already tell you, I do use Due Diligence Pro. Because it's, like you said, it's not so much that we're trying to sell it, but it's more that just handy to have, because who wants to open up a ton of tabs and just keep checking the same websites, And
somebody has to pick up the mantle that Robbie set down when he picked up the editor-at-large position and basically was going to be springing shit on the not just the listeners, but also the other people on the show. And in this case, it's now me to you, David. You're welcome. But thank you. Right? Yeah, we were doing due diligence on an asset that we will probably, strangely enough, this is one that's on our books that we're looking to either expedite moving off or possibly even offering it up on the show. I don't know. If you guys are interested in hearing us, say, offer up a deal either through the show or through, say, the email newsletter or what have you, definitely give us some feedback. Send us an email, ask@notmba.com, and let us know where your thoughts are on that.
I want to give you a little twist to that, because I think this might be kind of fun. I will pay for one person's membership for Due Diligence Pro for the year. And all they have to do to try and win this, and not to make this too selly, but maybe this would be a good incentive for people to shoot us some feedback. I'll pay for somebody's membership, and we'll pick out of the emails that we get, but they just have to send us some feedback on, be it the show, the Due Diligence Pro, anything they have that they can send us some feedback on. Some good feedback, some bad feedback, anything they want. Now the emails, I'll pick somebody, and or we'll pick somebody, and I'll pay for.
So this will be for anybody who's listening to this, posterity's sake, because we have to say this stuff now, because I get so many questions on like shows that have like we're so far past. This is going to be for the week after the show of 132. Okay, so if you're listening to this and it's like the end of 2017, beginning of 2018. just now. This is now passed. We'd love your feedback. But this offer is for the week of the show of 132. I love it. I dig it. So we're doing due diligence on an asset that we're currently working through, and you sent me the address. We're going through it, and I immediately loaded up Due Diligence Pro. Right, so we're going through it. I want to talk a little bit about some hurdles that we're kind of going through on this deal. Not about them specifically, obviously. If we offer this up to, say, the listeners or through some form or fashion, we'll obviously kind of have this for them, right? But we had a question regarding where this particular loan was at in foreclosure. And we had a question regarding a tax situation. So I'll tackle the tax side. Kind of walk me through what you have done to verify where we were at on taxes, or where this deal was at on foreclosure. I'm sorry.
So I went to the county website, and then I went to the clerk of courts. And since we have the borrower's name, I checked up on there.
Okay, back up. Clerk of courts. Okay. What are we talking about?
Go ahead.
What are you referring to? I'm saying I'm saying walk them through. Like they're looking at a deal. It looks like this one might be in foreclosure. They want to check on status. There's some places you can go. You can go to, but for you went clerk of courts. So clerk of courts is a title of a person. Is this a place? What are they calling? Where are they going? How are they getting this?
So they're going. So I would search up the city, like X city is in what county. Yep. My easiest way of finding that. I'll pull up the county website. And I'm trying to go back here so I can kind of walk through this as I'm going through it.
Sure.
So pull up the county website. It'll ask you to confirm. Yep. And then on this particular asset, you can search by civil search by case, civil search by name, foreclosure search. So I did the foreclosure search. I can't talk today. And then
it's too bad you're co-host on a podcast.
Yeah. I put in the address, I hit enter, and it actually popped up with the borrower's name right there. I clicked the case number, and it's got all the information right there as far as who the judge is, if the foreclosure was already started or not. In this case, it was. I'm just checking to see where we are on it.
Now, to be clear, this is not available everywhere. Many other things, right?
That this county website is advanced enough to have this, because I've definitely seen some. They're absolute shit shows that just don't have anything.
Right. It's like Pepsi Clear, right? Like it's not available in all stores, right?
Right.
Wait, Pepsi Clear. You might actually be too young for that. Do you remember that?
No, I was just kind of nodding my head at that one. I don't remember.
Okay, so anyway, man, nobody, not even my own kids, make me feel as old as David Galinsky does from time to time. So anyway, Pepsi Clear. No, I'm just kidding. We're not going to go into that. So you go there, you find the data, you start combing through it, you figure out where we're at, and now we have a strategy moving forward with this deal. Right, because now we know we're 6 weeks out, or we're 4 years out, or we're whatever. Right, like we know where we're at.
So here I can see this one just happened to have the borrower is the next of kin of. I'm sorry, the current borrower is the next of kin of the previous borrower that passed away. Right, and I can see here that there's filing of a death certificate. Then there's a new notice of a hearing. It's kind of scanning through this. There's some summons. There's a motion for the default judgment. So it looks like it's moving along.
Sure. But this is, quintessentially, this is where, so one of the things that we came to for this particular deal is that we had some potential homework, some legwork that needed to be done regarding where we were at in the deal regarding foreclosure. And then the other side was taxes. Now, on this particular one, we clearly saw that there was going to be some taxes that were owed, right? Went to the county website, which of course we always recommend. And what's really interesting is we noticed it obviously in the docs, right? But we also when we were using the Due Diligence Pro, it brings up, right, the county website on a lot of these places. And so I saw immediately, I was like, whoa, we got a tax situation. So we were able to obviously identify really quickly that was going to be another snag and another hurdle, right? So then we did our research there. Obviously, the county website says this. You call the county to make sure that it's verified and that information is accurate, right? You trust but verify. So now we're in a situation where we know all the numbers on the deal, right? And then we know two pretty significant outstanding variables. One that just needed verification, the other one that needed like straight up what's going on. You know what I mean? Now what we can do is we can step back and we can go, okay, and we can get a full picture of the landscape of this deal. Here's the numbers here. Here's the numbers here. Here's exactly where we're at here for timelines. Here's exactly where we're at for taxes. And now we can make an educated decision regarding how to move forward. So and this has been in 24 hours or less, right?
Correct. Yeah.
And you can't do that all the time. Sometimes, maybe the county isn't, whatever, or their websites aren't super active, or you call and it's a, vacation day, or there's a holiday, but in general, this isn't something you want to do for, say, 100 assets. But like we've talked about before, when you've gone through your initial stuff and you've got an isolated number of, say, 10 to 20 to 30, you can start to do this stuff much more quickly and assess these a lot more quickly. And within a pretty short order of time, make a decision about what action to take. Correct?
Exactly. And I think overall, like, obviously the new note investor would want to do this for every single one of those 10, 20, 30 you're talking about, just to really get a grasp on what it is. And trust me, I'm right there with that new note investor. I'm the one, I really want to be doing this over and over again so I can get a grasp on it. But
which is honestly, and I don't mean this in any sort of derogatory way, this is honestly why you are doing it.
Correct. Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
I mean, that's why you are the one that is and has been given what it is you're doing. That's why we're reviewing it here. That's why we're going out. I mean, all of these things are happening because we want you on the team and we want you to be doing, you know what I'm saying, all of this stuff and doing it at a high level.
This is the wax on, wax off that I have to do in order to become a master, right?
Okay. So you get some references. That's good. I'm glad that you get some.
Being myself.
Okay, grasshopper.
But I think like what I was going for was like the ultimate goal is to eventually create some sort of system that automizes this to a certain extent where you can oversee it rather than do the legwork every single time.
Right.
So,
right. And okay, so I love that. And these will be, because honestly, when we were starting, we were just doing, Robbie and I, well, everyone really, right? But the really smart people stop and they start to try to make systems much sooner than the rest of us, I would say. So in this way, we're able to document slowly through you, with ourselves, as we continue to kind of automate and at least create systems. So where if it's not us, it's a VA. If it's not a VA, it's an automated system. If it's not an automated system, it doesn't need to get done. Like going down the line. Here's all the things I need to do. Here's all the things an assistant can do. Here's all the things an even lesser paid assistant. Here's all the things an automated service like Zapier can do. Here's all the things that just, man, I don't know why we were doing that. And you can start to create this ecosystem of efficiency and effectiveness. And that's what's really important.
Exactly.
In that same vein, this past weekend, I don't know if you saw it, I was targeting a certain contingent of people. I was testing a theory that I had.
I did see it.
You did. I was testing a theory I had in a certain type of Facebook targeting. So I ran an ad this weekend. I did the 3-day marketing class, had a lot of fun with that. And a lot of people were asking for the replays of that class. And so I ended up throwing all of these replays together and added a whole bunch of like just hours and hours and hours of additional kind of like marketing content, how to set up a whole website in like an hour and a half, like all of these kinds of things, right? And I put all of this together into like this little marketing course, right? And I had been selling it slowly, just kind of like on the offs, like when I was whenever I taught at a thing or whatever, if anybody was interested in the marketing stuff, because it's all the stuff we've used to kind of grow the show, grow the business, all of that. And I wanted to test a new kind of Facebook ad targeting, not so much a Facebook ad, but the targeting. And it was effective. And so it's really fun to be the marketing guy and like have to do a lot of these things in the open, right? Like, like, you know, there's certain things that like when you're working a deal or you're working a negotiation, you don't necessarily have to do that like over the phone, right? Like, or like on video to where people can like, you know, kind of see you and judge you and you know, give you their feedback, right? But in this case, I got feedback and it was great, and you know, a bunch of people bought, which was really fun. But what I got to do was like offer this class at a discount as a way to test out this new Facebook targeting thing. And the reason why I was doing it was, you know, it's great, people buy it, whatever, you know, that's whatever. But like the asset we're talking about here, we're coming into the part of our business where we're going to start having assets available for sale. And of course, we have our list. Of course, we have listeners to the show and other things like that. But we've been slowly testing these Facebook strategies to move these deals in other avenues, in other ways, or what have you. So I got a chance to do some of that testing this past weekend. And it was really, really stinking cool to kind of see some of the analytics on the back end, to see what variations of the ad worked, which ones didn't. And it was very surprising, some of the new targeting stuff they've got. So I continue to sharpen my axe in public, which is fun. And then, you know, a bunch of people got a really great marketing course, which is great. But there's some really interesting stuff that's now available if you guys are now, say, if you've been being a note investor, you're just a real estate investor, whatever the case is, and you're trying to move REOs, or you're trying to do other things within the space to maybe find, you know, turnkey investors for deals you have, or if you're looking for borrowers, if you're trying to do you know, an owner finance or CFD situation, there's all kinds of things out there available for you within spaces like, say, a Facebook ad that for very few dollars can go really stinking far to a very specific subset and a very specific group of people. So it was really fun running that ad this weekend. And I had the idea towards the end of last week. It only ran for 2 days. It was like Saturday, Sunday. I got a ton of feedback, like privately, right, from people. They were like, "Hey, what were you doing here? What's going on?" Because they knew that the actual offer was great, but it wasn't the reason, right? You know, so everyone's like, kind of, you know, what's going on with this? So I'm going to analyze that, potentially have something to bring to the show. But it was really, really cool to kind of like have this week of, we're getting you in the mode of doing this interesting next level due diligence on a deal that we're probably going to be offering out through this funnel and field of like Facebook. So it's really kind of an interesting week of a lot of different, you know, I think about it like if you watch like a high-end cooking show, or if you go to like a restaurant where like the starter really is a bed for then the kind of first course to come in, and really sets the stage then for this and then that. So we just kind of had this really interesting week of that, which I thought was really great. Or I say week, probably like the past 7 days, right? And so that was really stinking cool to kind of see some of that stuff kind of come together, and then kind of see again some of that Facebook ad targeting stuff for that marketing class kind of like do what it did, and that was really, really neat. One of the aspects that I utilized there was something called social stacking, which was a lot of fun. And if anybody's interested, we could talk more about that. But yeah, it was really, really, really stinking cool, and I liked it a lot. In being able to take all of these different aspects of your business and just kind of like make them all work together in a really, really cool way.
Yeah, no, I mean, the ad definitely caught my eye and it looked super professional. So congrats on that. Yeah.
There is two other things I'd like to talk about. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 12. And I'll be answering all of you individually, but we have 12 emails in our inbox right now that are asking essentially the same question. They're asking about the quick start guide we mentioned earlier when Robbie and I first started the show. If we have classes coming up, if we have an online class, if we have whatever, an investment guide, we have all kinds of, essentially all asking the same thing. And I will say, give us time. Something is coming down the pipe. Like, that's a terrible teaser. I know it is. It's an awful, like, I'm just going to cliffhang it with that. Hey, everybody, if you like this week's show, head over to, like, I'm not going to do it. Yeah. But we do have something coming. It will be coming sooner rather than later. So be on the lookout for that. Very, very excited about the project. And I will say that it will answer a lot of these kinds of questions that we're getting in our inbox from people who are trying to kind of get into the business, get a full understanding of it. I'm very interested in solving this kind of issue. So just be on the lookout for that. Quick heads up to you guys. And the last thing, I am interested, Mr. Glinsky, because at the start of all of this,
yes,
it really has. It has just been, it's been one of those days where you just kind of, you should have like woke up, taken a shower, and put on like a metal chastity belt, because it's just been a kick in the ole after a kick in the ole after a kick in the ole. So what do you do? I'm fascinated by what people do when, like I get it, right? Gratitude, right? It's hard to, Tony Robbins, it's hard to be mad when you're grateful. Like it's, right. Or it's impossible. Like he talks about how like, it is chemically impossible in your brain for you to have certain chemicals coursing through when you're in a state of and what have you. He claims, I'm sure he's got something. He's got something to back it up. He's Tony Robbins, but all of that's great, right? But what I want to know from investors that are listening to this, people that are listening to this, entrepreneurs, whatever, soon to be note investors, people that just want to listen to our show because they like us and whatever. And you, I mean, what do you do when it is just like the scene from Neverending Story where he's having to like pull that horse through, like just slogging it through the,
yeah.
When you're in that, what do you do, man? What are your go-to things?
So I'll go off on this a little bit, and you let me know if I need to digress. But I haven't figured out a foolproof plan to always just come down from frustration or just anger or just difficulty in a day. I don't think there's a one size fits all solution, but for what I do is sometimes I'll just take a nap. Sometimes I'll listen to motivators like Gary Vee or Tony Robbins or something like that. Sometimes I'll just have a beer and just chill out, Meditation is huge for me. And I know we talked about that as far as the...
with the psych, yeah.
With the psych, yeah, thank you. And I'm starting to do this one thing, which I don't know how people will take this, but I'm starting to record not daily, but more like weekly recaps of my week. In it's not so much like every Friday I recorded a weekly recap. It's more of like when I have big events happen in my life or something really good or something really bad, I'll try my best to sit down, talk into the voice memos app, and just talk about how I'm feeling, why I'm feeling it, what's causing me to feel that way. And sometimes through doing that, I kind of act as my own psychiatrist or psychologist, and I figure out breakthroughs as far as like why it's silly for me to think this way or feel frustrated about this one thing that won't affect me, after a couple hours. So as lame as it sounds, talking it through is really helpful. So if you have, a significant other that you could talk to, I talk to them or just talk to yourself. It sounds ridiculous, but it really works. That's usually what I do.
Interesting. So I like that you have a lot of different ways to go about it, right? I like that you kind of have, though, right? Yeah, I like that you have that, like that multi-tool approach. I think that's, I would right off the top, and again, right, because like this is going to be something that's so not polarizing, but definitely I mean, this might be polarizing. A lot of people prefer when we talk only about the due diligence stuff we talked about before and all that, right? But no, it's very individualized for sure, right? Obviously. But I think that what I find to be the most, like the idea of the napping, right? Like it doesn't work for me at all. Like that's not, napping for me would not be a solution because that's just not something I do, right? Or if you're looking at, I think the recording of kind of where you're at, what's happening in your business, kind of mental state, like that kind of stuff is something that has interesting, is an interesting opportunity. I feel like it's the only thing that I think I would miss from it is there's no metric, right? Like outside of, and as lame as it sounds, if you applied like a 1 in 10 scale or something, right? Like you had, or even something more binary, right? Like a Steve Jobs. He said he would look in the mirror every morning and ask himself, is what I'm about to do today something, that I want to do for the rest of my life? Kind of gig. And if the answer was no, too many mornings in a row, is this something I want to be doing with my life? It was time for a shakeup. It was time to make a change, kind of thing. And that's obviously extremely binary. More so if he just said no once and then he wouldn't, stopped everything, right? But that idea of like yes, no, right, and moving forward, or this idea that like while you're doing those recordings, you're also putting like a numerical to it, right? Like this week was a 9, or even with whatever or something. I feel like that is what I would need in addition to some sort of almost like a scale to weigh out the situation, just so that way I had if after 6 weeks the average is X, right, something's got to give, or some way of managing.
You could really do like obviously I don't think you can guide people as far as telling them how to rate their weeks, but I like the idea, like maybe at the end of the recording, maybe just summarizing how you feel with like a number or a value of some sort so you can track that.
And I feel like to a lot of people that would be cheapening it, except again, like I said, I mean, it's going to be individualized, right? But I like that you had multiple different ways of doing it. I like that, for different people, it's going to be, I'm an emotional eater. I'm an emotional drinker. I'm like everyone's going to have, like you said, I got to go grab a beer or I've got to, whatever. I think I'm fascinated by other doers, other high achievers, other people, that I think a lot of people would know me as the optimist, and a lot of, in a lot of different scenarios, a lot of different situations. And I like to figure out and ask people and kind of get an understanding of what other people do, when they find themselves in that space, because man, whoo.
Yeah.
Mental chastity belt,
I mean, it depends how shitty the day is. I mean, like, maybe somebody insults me like down the street, like somebody flicks me off driving. Like, okay, like maybe I'll breathe deeply for like 5-10 minutes and get over it. Maybe it's been just like thing after thing after thing,
Death by 1,000 paper cuts, for sure.
Yeah, that's when you combine a couple of those techniques, and I don't know. I think it comes down to relaxing and being mindful of what you're thinking and feeling so you can react to that more aware than
just maybe knee jerk.
Right, exactly.
Right. Yeah, that all makes sense, man. I really has been one of those like deal fell through. I owe somebody some money here. Like just a bizarrely specific situation happening at my house that is all at once comical and like, oh my gosh, what's happening? And then it feels like today myself, my life, my business is like a fortress that is like being attacked, right? Like from all sides by like multiple different armies. Like, and you're just like, all right, we got to get the catapult over here, the trebuchets over here. We got to have guys at the gate here, archers on the walls. It's about to go down, right? Like getting yourself, and maybe that's part of the problem, right? Like you need to have a less warfare combatant attitude towards it. But it's been a bananas one, and it's good times, man.
Yeah, no.
And all at once, remembering I'm sitting in my office, which has construction happening with the AC running and a couple of fans while I record on a device where, you know, you have to have that that dichotomy, right? Like that duality to it of being the contradiction of like being just so enamored with it, and then like at the same time also understanding that all of that gratitude and gratefulness is important, and you know. So anyway. Rant over. Apologies. Next week will be a good one. I'm very much so looking forward to next week's show. In fact, next Wednesday is the day that I close on my house here in San Antonio, and at least for a time close the chapter of San Antonio in my life, which has encompassed roughly the entire 30 plus years of it. So
I hope you edit in some people clapping and cheering when you say that into the podcast, because that's deserving of that.
I try not to, you know, I've actually been listening to some really cool shows recently that have some of that like really great production, and I think it's all awesome. I just at the same time I feel like sometimes it's cheap. So I hear you. I just, you know, unfortunately I haven't found it in myself to like throw some of that stuff in, but I think it's kind of cool. Yeah, so next Wednesday will be a good one. I'm really looking forward to next week's show. And you know, really looking forward to hearing y'all's feedback, obviously on Due Diligence Pro. If you guys want to hear anything about some of the stuff we're tackling in terms of digital ad, you know, stuff and what have you is really, really cool. Obviously we have the, a really under the radar, super, cliffhangery. We're bringing a guide to you guys. Be on the lookout thing there. And then of course deal evaluation. It's become such a huge component to what we're doing here as we build out our processes for efficiency and effectiveness. Obviously having you in, you know, a position like we have you, David, and what have you, but being able to again bring some streamline and effectiveness to that is always important, but has really risen to the top in the past few recent weeks. So
absolutely, and I hope nobody forgets about the spontaneous giveaway that we decided to do.
At least you didn't do a spontaneous giveaway like Robbie, where he promised like everyone a thing, which resulted in a ton of awesome feedback, people. But OMG, was that a crazy Amazon bill?
I'm still a new note investor, but I promise I will do a giveaway like that in the future once I have a couple more notes down under my belt.
I love it. As always, if this is your first time here, be sure to head over to iTunes, give us a rating, give us a review, and of course subscribe. Or head over to NoteMBA.com to find this week's show notes and all of the show notes for every episode we do. And this week, send us an email. Ask at NoteMBA.com with the feedback you have for a chance to win a prize from Mr. David Glinsky. And remember, this week and every week, be sure to tell 5 other people you know about the Note MBA podcast. We'll catch you guys next week.
Thanks, everyone.